Students, in lesson 1.10, we are going to be working on numerical expressions. Our essential question for this lesson is, how can you use numerical expression to describe a situation? So remember, the word expression means that there's going to be operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and there's going to be numerical terms. However, there will be no equal signs. So let's start with the unlock the problem real world. A numerical expression is a mathematical phrase that has numbers and operation signs but does not have an equal sign. So again, we're going to put down our operations just so we can kind of remind ourselves of what operations are. We have a little arrow to point down. Make sure that every little note that you see Miss G make, that you're making those same little extra notes in your book, in your notebook, because it's going to help you a lot with this lesson. So it says Tyler caught 15 small bass, and his dad caught 12 small bass in the Memorial Bass Tourney in Tidua, Pennsylvania. Write a numerical expression to represent how many fish they caught in all. So it says choose what operation that you're going to use first. You need to join groups of different sizes, so what we're going to do is we're going to use addition. And also, boys and girls, if you see in all, that's prompting you to think that also that's talking about addition. So we have 15 small bass plus 12 small bass would be our numerical expression. So 15 plus 12 represents how many fish they caught in all. Notice we're just writing the expression. We're not actually solving it because that was not asked for us in this example. Next, we're going to go on to example 1. Write an expression to match the words. So we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So it says Emma has 11 fish in her aquarium. She buys 4 more fish. Now when you hear that word more, that means that we're going to add to the quantity that she already has. So what we see, the numerical expression is the 11 she has plus 4 more. So this numerical expression would be 11 plus 4. Next, we're going to go on to subtraction. Lucia has 128 stamps. She uses 38 stamps on party invitations. Now in this one, when we hear uses, we're thinking subtraction because she's taking away from the amount that she has. Next we have multiplication. So it says Carla buys 5 books. Each book costs $3. So we know we have that word each, which we've been focusing a lot on already this chapter, and each means that we need to multiply. So we're going to start with how many books she has, which is 5, and we're going to multiply it by the cost of the book, which is 3, and our numerical expression would be 5 times 3. And lastly, we go on to division. It says 4 players share 52 cards equally. So now we hear that word share. As math detectives, when we hear that word share, we know that we're talking about division. So it's really important that you start to listen to these words very carefully. These are going to give you clues about what operation you're going to perform. So our dividend is going to be the cards, the 52 cards. And we're going to divide it among 4 players. So our numerical expression would be 52 divided by 4. And boys and girls, I want you to pay close attention to subtraction and to division. There are no commutative properties other than the community property of addition and the community property of multiplication. So the order for subtraction is very important, and the order for division is very important. You cannot change around the order in the terms in a subtraction problem, and you cannot change around the order of terms in a division problem. So we're going to do this mathematical practices math talk in class. It says, what does the expression model in each example? Now lastly, we're going to go on and we're going to add one more component to this lesson. So it says expressions with parentheses. The meaning in the words in the problem tell you where to place the parentheses in an example. So again, that goes back to a reading skill. The meaning of the words in the problem tell us where we're going to plug in the parentheses. So let's start with example 2. And we have some key things that we need to keep in mind here in the blue box. It says we're underlining the events for the day. So I'm going to put a little underline underneath the events. And then it says circle the number of days. So I'm going to put a circle around the number of days that these events happen. So it says, which expression matches the meaning of the words? Doug went fishing for 3 days. Each day he put $15 in his pocket. At the end of each day, he had $5 left. How much money did Doug spend by the end of the trip? So notice, we know that he did the action of putting $15 in his pocket, and then he did the action of having $5 left. We know that he did that for 3 days, so that's why we circle the number of days that it happens. Now next it says, think. Each day he took $15 and had $5 left. He did this for 3 days. So we know that this is important. What expression can you write to show how much money Doug spent in 1 day? So why you need the parentheses, boys and girls, in this problem is that we need to calculate for 1 day, and then we need to apply that to 3 days. But we need to do 1 day in parentheses first and then multiply it by 3 days. It says, think. What expression can you write to show how much money Doug spent in 3 days? So what we do is we calculate the cost first of 1 day, and the parentheses allow us to calculate that first because we know the terms inside the parentheses are like those kids who say, pick me, pick me, pick me. So we're going to pick them first, and then we're going to multiply that difference by the total amount of days. So it says, math talk, mathematical practices. We're going to do this one again together with each other in class, but it's important to think and consider it now. It says, explain how the expression of what Doug spent in 3 days compares to the expression of what he spent in 1 day. So our last example is example 3. What we're going to do is we're going to now match the expression, numerical expression, to a situation. Which problem matches the expression $20 minus parentheses $12 plus $3 and parentheses? So we're going to read these two situations and we're going to figure out which belongs to which. It says Kim has $20 to spend for her fishing trip. She spends $12 on a fishing pole. Then she finds $3. How much money does Kim have now? So if she finds, boys and girls, we know she's adding to her money pile. If she spends, boys and girls, we know she's subtracting money from what she has. So it says list the events in order. We know that first she spends, and then secondly she finds. So now she's going to first subtract, and then she's going to add. So it says, first Kim has $20, next Kim spends $12, then she finds $3. It says, do these words match the expression? The expression, I would say no, boys and girls, because this expression that we're talking about was that she had $20 to spend for her fishing trip. What we would do is we would say she subtracted the amount of the fishing pole, which was $12, and then she later in the day found $4. This is the expression that would match that scenario. So let's read the second problem. It says Kim has $20 to spend for her fishing trip. She spends $12 on a fishing pole and $3 on bait. How much money does Kim have now? So it says to list the events in order. We know that first she buys the pole, and secondly she buys bait. Now remember, if she's buying in both of those scenarios, we know that we're going to use subtraction both times. So it says first Kim has $20, next Kim spends $3, then Kim spends, sorry boys and girls, that should be she spent $12 first. She bought the pole and then she bought the bait for $3. And it says, do these words match expressions? Yes, because if we go back up to the original expression, we know that we have to total the amount that she spent and then subtract it from the amount that she started, which was with 12. So this is going to be a challenging lesson, but remember, if you stay focused on the prize, you're going to be able to finish all of these lessons strong for this Chapter 1 assessment. Make sure you're taking very good notes on Example 1, Example 2, and Example 3 in your math notebook. It's also important that any key vocabulary terms like numerical expression and its definition are written down in your math notebook.